The pandemic changed absolutely everything. But what if the biggest lesson wasn't about medicine or the economy, but about us? So today, we're going to dig into a really philosophical take on what the virus actually taught us. That the very moment humanity felt most in control was the exact moment we lost it completely.
Okay, to really get why the pandemic hit us so hard, we have to rewind a bit. We need to remember what the world felt like right before it all changed. It was a world built on this powerful and, as it turns out, incredibly fragile illusion. I mean, think about it. The general vibe was total dominance, right? We really saw ourselves as the undisputed masters of the planet. We felt like we had conquered nature and pretty much overcome our own limitations. We thought we had all the big problems figured out.
And our confidence? It was built on these three massive pillars. We put our absolute faith in science to solve any mystery, in technology to fix any problem, and in this unstoppable idea of progress to guarantee a better future. These ideas made us feel, well, untouchable. And then the unthinkable happened. It wasn't an army. It wasn't an asteroid. It was something completely invisible. A tiny microscopic particle that in just a few weeks brought that towering confidence and our entire world crashing down around us. So this is where the perspective gets really, really interesting. The argument here is that we should totally reframe how we look at the virus itself. It wasn't just some enemy we had to defeat. No, it was something else entirely.
And that's the key point. The virus wasn't just a biological threat. Its real job was to act like a giant mirror, held right up to our faces, forcing humanity to see itself clearly for the first time in a long, long time. And let me tell you, the reflection was not what we expected.
This whole line of thought suggests we've been obsessing over the wrong question. Arguing about where the virus came from, it kind of misses the bigger, more profound point. The real mystery isn't its origin, it's our reaction. Why were we so completely blindsided? Why were we so unprepared for something that, looking back now, feels almost inevitable?
And this just nails the central paradox of our time. We are literally drowning in information. We have more data, more facts, more knowing than ever before in history. But we have less wisdom, less context, less true understanding of our place in the world. Speed has officially outpaced meaning.
You know what else that mirror showed us? A really disturbing relationship with the planet. We weren't acting like caretakers. We were acting like conquerors. We treated Earth not as our home, but as a resource to be squeezed for every last drop of profit, ignoring all the risks we were creating. And here's the fundamental truth we just forgot. Nature isn't a politician you can debate with. It doesn't send out warning memos. It just operates on cause and effect. Simple as that. The pandemic wasn't some act of revenge. It was a reaction, an unavoidable consequence of the way we were living. So when this consequence finally arrived, how did our modern, super advanced society respond? Well, the answer reveals a whole lot about our collective psychology. Our first instinct wasn't to look in the mirror. Nope. It was to find a villain. We immediately started looking for someone to blame for all the suffering. Was it this government, that lab, some shadowy conspiracy? We desperately needed an enemy to point at.
And the reason why is painfully simple, isn't it? It is always, always easier to point a finger at someone else than it is to turn that finger back and point it at yourself. Facing our own collective responsibility, our habits, our systems, our pride, that's a much, much harder thing to do.
But all that finger pointing, it was really just a distraction from what the mirror showed us next. And this might be the most painful truth of all. The problem wasn't just out there. It was inside us. Sure, our supply chains broke and our healthcare systems buckled. Yes, all that happened. But the deeper failure was internal. As individual people, we were psychologically and, you could say spiritually, unprepared for the entire world to just stop. The crisis exposed this deep, deep fragility at the core of our modern way of life. And this fragility led to what some have called a second silent pandemic, a huge wave of fear, crushing loneliness, deep depression, and just a profound sense of meaninglessness. The argument is that this internal crisis, this quiet pandemic, ultimately hurt far more people than the virus itself. So why? Why were we so fragile? Well, it's because the world we've built has these unwritten rules that are totally hostile to a crisis. We've built a culture where stopping is seen as weakness, where silence is terrifying because it forces us to actually be with our own thoughts, and where being alone is unbearable. And then the pandemic forced all three of those things on us at once.
Okay, so the mirror has shown us this pretty brutal reflection. What now? We're left with the most critical question of all. Where do we go from here?
This is it, isn't it? This is the question that probably haunts a lot of us. And the answer isn't a simple yes or no. The answer is, it's a choice. It depends completely on what we choose to do next.
We're standing at a fork in the road. Seriously, one path is just repetition. We forget the lesson, we go right back to consuming nature without a second thought, and we keep prioritizing speed over wisdom. If we take that path, another crisis isn't just possible, it's pretty much guaranteed. But there's another path, the path of learning. That's where we accept our limits, we learn to cooperate with our planet, and we start to redefine what a good life even means. And that right there might just be the final lesson. For centuries, we've defined growth as building taller, moving faster, knowing more. But what if the next great leap for humanity isn't about progress at all? What if real growth is about understanding?